Tango 1 at the top, we're at Pablo Pico. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action, find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're doing that. The Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
All right, everybody, welcome to Tango 1 Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Smith, and like always, I'm trying to bring you guys guests that'll help you to move forward on your weaknesses, take actions on your plans and goals. And today I have with me a good friend, Carl Hooper. Carl is your partner at Baker Tilly. That's always the one to...
Correct.
Yes. Partner at Baker Tilly. I never know what to say, which is like it's a massive accounting firm. We'll talk about that a little bit. And he is my personal accountant, which is like my corporate accountant. Is that what I'm supposed to call you?
Both, yes.
Both. I guess you do both, right?
Yeah.
So, and over the years, we've kind of like developed a little bit of a friendship, and it's just, I'm really happy you came on here. I know you were reluctant at first, but here we are.
Well, you told me to, challenge myself. It'll make me better, so I'm here to challenge myself.
Yeah, that was my first question was, what did make you like kind of flip the script? Because it was like within 20 minutes,
You
actually.
busted my balls.
You really?
I
That's
said
all
no.
it was?
I said no, and you put out well, I don't know why. We can tell people you did a great presentation to our office, right? Our staff, you did a great leadership training session. Everybody loved it. It was fantastic. But at that point, you said, tough decisions are hard to make, but have to be made, and you need to challenge yourself to get better. So when you replied back, but I thought you were going to challenge yourself in 2023, I said, how do I say no to Tony now? I got to give in to that.
So, or don't I say this all the time? Bullying and mentorship often look the same, and I feel that when I go into your office and when you're hammering me with your expertise. So it's been like, first of all, I want to start that getting to know you the last 3-4 years. It was weird at first because I doing business, I didn't know anything when I opened the business, and I knew one of your old partners, will leave his name out of it, but we played football together, good friends. So obviously I had a trust in him. And then one day he's like, hey, I'm leaving, and this is Carl. I'm like, I don't know how to take this guy, and then since, it's just been awesome to I've had a couple of drinks with you. I've had opportunities. You've gave me an opportunity to come in with you guys, and which has been awesome. And I just want to hear your story because, man, going into that old building on Howard, I think it was the way off Howard. It was the way it was set up. You had no idea how big what you do is, how many people. Now that it's all wide open, when I walk in there and you're like, wow, there's so many people working under this one roof.
Yeah, so we made a conscious decision to sell the building on Howard. We had grown out of it. So expanding it certainly wasn't anything I wanted to do as one of the building owners, so we sold it. At the same time, we put a criteria together to say what we wanted. Free parking for our staff, one floor, lots of natural lighting, good location, cool vibe. So Walker Power Building was just getting started then. So we were the first tenant, signed the first lease. Pretty much everybody else in the building copied off of our, glass approach, the exposed walls. It's beautiful, but it met everything we wanted. And frankly, I can tell you, staff love it. They love coming to work every day. Clients love it. It's a great area. That whole area down there in Walkerville is just fantastic now. Great restaurants. So yeah, I run into you every now and then. Sometimes having a sandwich in Walkerville. Every now and then. Yeah.
Every time I go, I see you or Dobridge. But I also every time I go, being from Amherstburg now, it's like a trip to the city. It's a big deal, right? So every time I go, I make a point to go somewhere else, and visit and have lunch or see some old friends. But you with that building, that one, if you don't know the building, the Power Building, it was broken out windows forever. It was a disaster.
Covered in the vines, right?
And to go in there now, and as a client, I appreciate it huge. I think it looks just beautiful, and it obviously is beautiful. And you've the way you laid it out with all the glass and you can see everywhere. I just think it's the coolest thing that, like, I've been in, I guess as a cop, I went into thousands and probably tens of thousands of places. And I got to say, that's probably the coolest building I've been in, or business I've been in, like layout wise and views and everything ever.
Well, thank you. That was the intent. You know, we had some help. Toronto architect come in and sort of laid it out. The furniture was all, you know, state of the art, ergonomic. A lot of thought went into, you know, making sure all the staff could, you know, stand up or sit if they wanted to work. A lot of ergonomic design, very minimalist, right? We're paperless, so a lot of thought went into it. And I don't get the credit for that. I just get the credit for writing 1/25 or 1/4 of the check.
Yeah,
that's all I did.
I would imagine though, it's like leading is like not about being the expert; it's about finding experts to do what you need to do, right? And that's kind of what you did there.
Yeah, 100%, right? So that's we had a team and we spent a lot of hours at it, but yeah, it worked out really well. So we're proud of it, but it was strategic and on purpose.
Yeah,
it was
that's
strategic and on purpose. We did it on purpose.
Okay, that's my next question. What was the strategy and what was the purpose behind the move, other than like not take finances away? Because I know it's not really always your intent. It is the group, I'm assuming, right? The team.
Yeah, so we take a lot of pride in offering services to our staff that are not just dollars. Right? My partners and I fight every now and then. There's a big survey last week that, you know, financial compensation is number 7 on an employee's list.
For real?
For real.
Like at yours, or that's a survey?
No, that's a national survey that said compensate dollars and cents, salary and bonuses number 7.
Wow.
So I don't 100% agree with it, but when you think about it, if you are not being trained, not being challenged, being overworked, especially in our industry, you know, there's lots of hours, a lot of grinding, a lot of deadlines. So if you don't feel appreciated, if you're not being respected, all of that ranks above dollars. So part of our, you know, sort of give to our staff is the work environment. You know, we have the room upstairs that they can use so they can go up and have drinks after work if they want, have a cigar, stand outside on the balcony, watch the boats go up and down. That's all part of it. You know, we do a lot of stuff together. You've seen the big kitchen area, right? So there's lots of food, but we try and treat them the way today's employees want to be treated. Dollars and cents are important, but all that other stuff is just as important.
Yeah, we all need the money to live off of those things. But I think in particular, like in your industry too, I think like one is, I imagine, like I've kind of been there, like with like, you know, the close, when every year end, it's like, it feels like it's madness here.
Yeah.
Right. And I can only imagine, because you guys are getting it from all kinds of people, and you're getting all my, I mean, Steph does a good job for us. I don't want to knock her. It's me who holds everything up, but like getting all that, just pouring this information into you guys. And so I think like with you guys, it must be so important to balance the storm, right? Like if you're able to provide like a calming, and I feel like with today's, the way the world works today is like everybody's expecting the answers like right away too, right? So the pressure must be on. Have you seen like an improvement in the mental health of your employees, like from 10 years ago when you were running when you were probably more on the floor, so to speak?
Yeah, so I'm in charge of the accounting group, so, you know, I probably manage 40 people all year. We have, you know, they're not direct reports, but I'm responsible for their success. And I don't want to say failure, because we don't have failures. It's all about success. It's all about making them great. But it's the hardest job in the world, because you're managing, you know, 5 bands of people, 25 to 30, all the way up to 60 to 70, right? So try and find a technique or a consistency that makes a 35-year-old happy and a 65-year-old happy. It's impossible, right? So I gave up, and we just, you know, in today's world where kids are in school, I have 40 individual learning plans. I treat 40 people differently every single day to get the best out of that person in their role.
Right.
It's a little bit of work for me, but once you implement it and make people understand it, that Susie might get treated different than Bobby, and you might be at the same point in your career, but I'm telling you this is best for both of you. Right? So It's a little bit of work, but it yields great results. It really does.
Well, isn't leadership, I mean, I guess if I would do, it's about maximizing the potential of your assets, no matter what that is, whether they're actual physical assets or people. Like, I think that's it's kind of missed. And if you can't bring anybody up, like, so you've been doing how many years you've been doing this?
I'm going to just say 35,
go
somewhere
100
between
one day.
30 and 35 for sure.
So, like, do you think that you would have done the same 10 years ago? Do you think, like,
No.
Carl 10 years ago, like,
No.
were you that leader? Like,
No.
more-
So having kids helps because it humbles you and makes you understand the impact. I have the best job in the whole world. I have hundreds of clients across Canada that call me for every aspect of their life, right? So we get to learn live. So, we get to experience family dynamics with real families day in and day out. I was raised in a sort of a male-dominated, I am great, you are not environment, where we worked hard, and if you worked really hard, you maybe got promoted, you didn't. A lot of screaming, a lot of yelling. I had to evolve the way I manage people, and it took a long time because no one likes to be yelled at. And then I became very sarcastic, which I thought was better, but people hated that worse. So now I'm just brutally honest, but live. So when people make mistakes, I tell them they're not bad people, but that was a bad decision, and that was a mistake that I don't want to see you do again. So I don't want to hear you're sorry. I want to hear it won't happen again from a professional perspective. And that seems to resonate way better with most people than yelling or sarcasm.
right. And you've got like a zen, almost like zenness to you these days. It's really like odd. Like, I love it. But it's such a great vibe, like where you feel like so comfortable. And I think like when you call somebody into that glass office to give them quote unquote shit for a mistake, like mistakes are bound to happen. Like, how do you decide between like what could be a fatal error, like what is an error that's punishable, what's not? Like, I'm sure like going 35 years, you must have made a lot of mistakes. Like,
So we're not perfect. People think everything in the accounting industry and tax industry is perfect. It's not. It's impossible. So we have an error rate, an acceptable error rate, but no one dies on our watch. So errors can be deferred to the next year or file an amended return and do it over again, right? So we have a cold review process. So nothing goes out of the office without someone doing it and at least one other person reviewing it. So in theory, we catch the fatal mistakes before they go out. Knock on wood,
right.
35 years in a career. Sure, we get audited by Revenue Canada. Sure, we owe some money back, but that's okay. But no fatal mistakes. Nothing's bad's happened. Companies go bankrupt because they stop listening and stop taking good advice, but that's on them, not on me, right? So knock on wood, you design a system where you can review other people's work to a quality standard that's acceptable, and then fact check it before it goes out. And, I think it works. It works.
Yeah. So like with your leadership style that you said, I love this topic, and I love talking to I feel like you're like that one generation ahead of me, like the, like the uncle or the big brother type generation of leadership and man, right? So I was reading a book where it says basically men go from being like a warrior to a king to the Buddha, like almost like the monk, right? To the people that you're going to talk to, the ancestors of the tribe. Like, what do you think, like, that part of the thing that you said about speaking the truth? One, it's like sad that we have to it's taken badly by people sometimes. Like, speaking the truth is like, we're so full of shit in today's society that when we speak the truth, it's almost like you're an asshole. When it's like, no, I'm actually just saying what you.
Yes, you look fat in that dress. I'm sorry.
Well, you said I wasn't allowed to say fat, but you could say fat.
No, I said you weren't allowed to tell me I'm fat.
So do you think that, like, is that truthfulness, do you think that that's just like you just getting to an age, a success level, maybe a wisdom where you just don't really give a fuck? Or is it like more like they're just like, we're not wasting time, we have no more time to waste, let's just get this over with and move on?
Yeah, so my whole career I've been polarizing meaning a lot of people gravitate to me, but there's 10 to 20% that can't stand me. And a lot of people can't stand brutal honesty. And when I say brutal honesty, it's brutal, right? If you need help, if you want someone to rah-rah, like I tell my clients, if I'm the one standing up on the soapbox doing rah-rah, something's wrong.
I might have gotten that
Yes.
speech before.
Yeah, something's wrong. If I'm the rah guy, I'm telling you that's there's something wrong, right? So but yeah, I just I don't know. You can't be great at everything, right? So I'm just great at gathering data fairly quickly, making decisions fairly quickly, and sharing information. And if you don't like it, that's okay. We don't take every client. We don't need every client, right? I've had many people walk in the office and give them a brutally honest speech and they never call back. And it doesn't hurt my feelings. I know they left better. I know they left with good facts, right? It's just what they do with it's up to them. So it's not time. It's not disrespect. It's just my approach. So do I not give a fuck? Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I really don't.
Yeah, you'd rather-
Hence today's outfit, which is pretty much the way I roll.
For those of you listening, it is freezing outside, and Carl walked in here today in shorts and
And a
light
baby
sweatshirt.
blue, baby blue
light sweatshirt.
Yeah.
But the kicks are stylish, though.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
give you that.
Thanks.
We give you that. I've gotten that speech from you before.
Yeah.
You're like, Tony, you're the motivator.
Yeah.
I'm not standing on the so spot. What I think you're about to, that decision you want to make is dumb. Was basically what was said. And I'm like, you know what? And I personally appreciate that. And I think like my old world, the SWAT world, that was kind of like the way it was. It was like you kind of like, and I've heard Luke Wilson talk about this too, being in the professional, like in an NFL, it was like there's no holds barred. It was kind of just ruthless, and that's just. And then you kind of forget that that's the world you live in sometimes when you go deal with people who don't live in that world. That's when I first opened the business too here. It was a little bit rough. Sometimes I would say things that were maybe a little bit, they were the truth, but I probably could have sent them in a more gentle way, in a more caring way, more empathetic way that I actually meant. Do you struggle with that ever? Like
I struggle with the word empathy.
Empathy?
Because empathy is for losers.
All right. So it's ROI.
So what's...
So two things for losers
Yeah.
right now. Empathy and ROI.
So what's the, and people get mad when I say this, but, what's the end result of empathy? Where does empathy go? Well, I'll tell you, it goes to sympathy, right? It doesn't go to solution. It doesn't go to correction. It doesn't go to making anybody better. Empathy breeds sympathy, and sympathy is really, really not what people need. People need a hug. They need to be treated differently. They need to feel kindness. But to me, that's not empathy. Empathy breeds sympathy, and I refuse to get on that train.
Nice. And what would you separate between kindness and empathy? How would you...
Again, acts of kindness that are random, I learned a long time ago that you should only do what you want to do and don't expect a reaction. So random acts of kindness are the best ones because you're doing it randomly and walking away. If you're doing an act of kindness because you expect something back, it's not an act of kindness. Right?
Right.
So in my mind, kindness is from your heart, where you want nothing back. Empathy is, in a lot of cases, your personal past identifying with the current situation that then breeds sympathy, which again is the downward spiral, not the upward spiral.
Right. So with the random acts of kindness, this is like, I'm kind of like going down this avenue because we have done a ton of charity work here. And then it's like, you know what, we post about it. Is it really charity work if we're like kind of showing it off after? And I'm like, I do struggle with that. And now seeing some of these people on Instagram and seeing the random acts of kindness, like they're walking into the grocery store.
Yeah, there's a guy in Windsor that's, got a million followers, but does a great job of it, right?
Right. But is it truly random acts of kind? Like that's where it struggles. Like it's a very nice thing to do. And sharing it does inspire others to do random acts of kindness. That's where inside morally, that's where I've been struggling with lately is like, is it really authentic for me to do these nice things to raise a lot of money and still like, is it self-serving? Maybe it is self-serving. Maybe there's nothing wrong with it being a little bit self-serving if it makes you feel good. We were talking before.
No. Giving money the United Way and getting a donation receipt is still a great thing. It's making the community better. It's making people better, right? But random acts of kindness are the ones that resonate the most, right? Paying for the person's coffee behind you before they order their coffee.
I love that.
Right.
Somebody does that for me.
That's
I love
right.
it. I'm
That's
like,
right.
Thank you so much. It's
Yes.
like whatever, $3 or
and
something.
you don't even know.
Right.
Right? Like I was in downtown Naples for Christmas, sat at a little coffee place. I'm at a table of 4. family comes in, there's 5. They're trying to sit at a table of 2. There's no way it's going to work. So I said, you know what? Hey, why don't you take my table? They go, no, we can't. They come back 5 minutes later and say, can we have your table? I said, of course you can. I went to the table of 2. They sat on the table of 4. I said to my waiter, hey, do me a favor, put all their food on my tab. And I got up and walked away. So they don't know my name. They barely seen my face. They got my table and a free lunch.
And how good does that make you feel?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? Don't want anything back. It's just nice.
And do you think karma comes your way later that day?
I
think it does.
I can tell you that I'm probably one of the luckiest people when it comes to lotteries, raffles, different things like that. And I believe karma comes back. So what you put out in the world comes back. So yes, I think random acts of kindness are rewarded. It just gives you more stuff to give away.
And tell me, you were right before we started, we were talking, I wish we had it on recording, but the Ohio State, you were talking about something Ohio State you had read.
Yeah.
There's another thing I love about you. You always share with me these articles. I love that. And like, I love that you read something and you're like, Tony should read this, and like take the time with, you do have hundreds of clients, to send an email to me. And that's the kind of stuff that also keeps me coming back to Baker
Thank
Tilly.
you. Thank you.
Little things like that.
Yeah, and you know, we pride ourselves on that. So the Ohio State University, I was watching the dentist chair this morning, watching the TV up high above my head, so I was reading it. But they started a kindness research study where they engaged one of the students without anyone knowing to do random acts of kindness around the university during the semester. And they followed her and taped her engaged reaction. And of course, first she's a little awkward. I'm opening people's doors. I'm leaving nice notes on people's lockers. I'm giving stuff away. I'm paying for I'm giving. And she said it was awkward because, you know what, to give stuff away like that, it takes a certain kind of person. But they measured her and they measured the results around. And it's unbelievable in terms of aspect of mental health and just, people believing in themselves. There's something special about kindness, right? And I you know me, Tony, I don't get paid to be nice. It's not really what I do for a living. I negotiate hard and I negotiate to win. I don't negotiate fair. I have no credence about that. What people pay me to do is a result, and whatever I have to do to get that result, I'm going to do, right? And if that's unfortunate, that means you hired the wrong guy. There's no other way to say it. All that being said, I can still be kind when I'm not negotiating.
Ethical and moral too, right? Like
100%. Well,
like
you can't be immoral and unethical.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
You can't be, not in today's world. It's too easy to get caught.
Right.
Right? And there's no joy in that. So you just play hard, win hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's I love how you put that too. And with the acts of kindness, it is like, it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't even have to be money. Like in here, I find in the gym, one of the best things you can say to somebody, particularly to a woman, is, you look great today.
Yes.
Like, and I'm not saying it's not bullshit, but like at first I would say like almost like it's self-serving, like I'm very proud, like, we're doing this for you. But like then you start to realize what kind of an impact that has on that person's day. One, it's 6 a.m. in here. They probably didn't even put makeup on. And I'm talking like, you look great today. Like what you're doing is working. Good for you. And like you can just see them like they're like, and how that makes you feel too. Just that view, that face that they make, that like sense of pride that they feel.
Yes.
It's so
and it's
great.
free. Or I love your shoes.
Yeah.
Or I love that sweater.
I told you I like your shoes.
Where'd you get that sweater? Yeah.
Yes.
Those are free things. Cost you zero. Or just noticing. We have a lot of lady employees, and they're all fantastic, hardworking people. They really like when you notice they change their hair. So from Friday to Monday, it's like, wow, your hair looks great. You got a cut. You colored it. That's fantastic. I love that on you. And it makes their whole day.
Absolutely.
And it costs you nothing.
Right. And yeah, so with you too, like that's a different dimension too, right? Like when you started in this business, speaking like women into, like, was it all like your office seemed to be like more women than men, right? And is it
still is?
Is
yeah.
It?
So
was it always like that, or
no.
have you seen that also?
Yeah. So
I mean, being a father of daughters.
Am I allowed to be honest now? We're allowed to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
So the I started in 1989. Somewhere, I think it was 96, 97. I was with Deloitte, on my way to what I thought was partnership, progressing very quickly, working very hard, stupid hard. Hardest I ever worked in my whole life. Now remember, this is before we had PCs. This is before we had networks, so we did a lot of stuff manually. So everything took 10 times longer. Right? So you can imagine the hours that went in to get stuff done. So we had sensitivity training, brought us up to Toronto, and the agenda was how we promote women and make women better in our industry. So I raised my hand and I, listened for 2 days. I raised my hand and finally said, guys, with all due respect, what I'm hearing is me as a man, I'm going to have to work 3 times as hard as the lady that's sitting beside me to get promoted, and I think that's stupid. So the guy running the course said, see, you're exactly what the problem is. I said, I'm the problem? I work 3,000 hours a year. I bill 10 times my salary and make my office a fortune. But I'm the problem because I want us to be treated equally. I don't want women to advance in front of men. I don't want men to advance in front of women. I want us to be treated equally. So that set me off. Sort of made my career pivot a little bit, because once you say that in a national meeting, pretty much Deloitte doesn't really want you to work there anymore. So it didn't take long for someone to tap me on the shoulder and say, you know what, you probably need to go somewhere else because I don't think this is going to work. But going to Collins Barrow back then, managing partner was a woman, tax partner was a woman, 50% of the office was women. So I have no problem working with great people. I have a problem with promoting someone that's not ready just because of their race or their sex. That I don't like.
Right. And you've got a very diverse staff there.
100%. We do that. We hire the best people.
Your partner is a woman who's like very, very strong and powerful.
Yes, we
she agrees. I think that's with me and Danny too. It's the same here. Like we believe in the right person, right job, right fit, right? And you have to have the basic qualifications, but you also have to have all those other things, the values that represent this place. And I think that gives, us more strength as a couple, or, you as not as a couple, but as partners, right?
Yes.
For sure.
Promote the best people, train the best people, right? And again, I'm okay. We get it all. We've got people across Canada. We've got people that, work in Toronto and Montreal. Deep specialists are hard to find. They're hard to bring to Windsor. So we don't care. We hire the best person.
And for you, has there ever been the pressure to not do so since you took over?
No.
No?
No. We've always, as a group of partners, we've always agreed that we would promote from within first, hire and strategically target people where we could, but had to fit and had to be the best. So it was never a quota. It was never us versus them. It was always the best person for the best job.
And I think probably in your industry, I don't know, in your industry, here, language barriers and things could be a problem where you're speaking, you're coaching to people. But with you, and you're numbers are numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I think you probably even have a better ability to hire from a greater, I don't know, what would you call that? Different various of people, right?
Yeah, diversity.
Right.
Yeah. So we're able to touch probably more diverse people. New immigrants to Canada. People that English is their second language for sure.
I remember
all that stuff.
One of the guys when I was presenting had a lot of difficulty. Remember I spoke French back to him, and he was
right? Yeah. So and again, a brilliant guy, talented guy,
right.
And we'll work with him. And we'll work with all our people. But you're right. Client-facing people, need to have a pretty good master of the English language, right? They need to be able to present at least. But there's roles for everybody.
Right.
Or we train them to do really cool, solid PowerPoints where all they have to do is follow the script, right? If you can do that, then really you limit the words you have to say.
So let's go back to 1989 or wherever that was for you.
like how did you end up, like, I guess that would be a very long story, but how did you end up as partner to this? I forgot it was Collinsboro when I first signed up with you guys, but how did you end up as a partner at Collinsboro or whatever, like this big, like it's nationwide,
Yeah, so
North American wide?
So Baker Tilly, so Collinsboro, there's a little confusion, but not. We just changed our name.
Okay.
So Collinsboro was part of Baker Tilly International. Baker Tilly International come to Canada to Collinsboro and said, hey, we're rebranding. We're spending a lot of money. If you ever wanted to change your name, now would be a great time because you could leverage all our advertising. You could leverage our brand. It'd be great. So I think 5 years ago, we changed to Baker Tilly. It had to be all quiet, hush, hush, because it was led internationally. So all our clients got a big surprise. I think it was January 2nd or January 3rd, 4 or 5 years ago. We were still in the old building. So we rebranded. But Baker Tilly's the 8th largest accountancy group in Canada, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we're big. So we're 30 to 40 offices across Canada, all independent, right? So we're allowed to make our own decisions on hiring, firing clients, business segments, all that stuff. So it's the best of all worlds, where I have resources across Canada and across the world that I can tap into when I need. But if I want to hire or fire somebody, my partners and I sit around a table, and 20 minutes later we can make a decision. So we can be entrepreneurial. We can, make decisions live that affect our local market. No one tells me how much I have to pay people, and we make as much money as we want to make based on how much work we want to take and how much we want to pay people. So it really is the best model in the world, as compared to a partner in a national or international accounting firm, or hypothetically, somebody in Toronto calls you and says, you tipped too much on your lunch receipt, we're not reimbursing you for that tip, which happens to local partners of a national partnership.
Right. That makes sense. So when you came out of school, how did you, like, how does this look as an accountant, I guess?
It's a true story. So I wanted to
First, one really funny thing,
Yeah.
which nobody really knows. Irv, you might remember. So remember in OACs, right? We went to high school, Irv and I together. The only OAC class I took was accounting. Accounting and business, and because Mr. Kane taught it, and he was my basketball coach, and I loved being in his classes, but the only one I took was accounting. And I remember him saying, like, I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. So you come out as...
It's not for everybody. So I wanted to be a doctor.
Okay.
So I all science, never took a business course in high school.
Really?
I was back grade 13, so I had 5 years high school, 0 business courses, typing, if you called that business.
On the typewriter?
Yeah,
Typewriter, yeah.
on the typewriter. All science. 3 years of university. Actually, 4 years of university. So 4 years of science in university. Applied to medical school twice. Didn't get in. Woke up one day and said I need to do something. So I was either going to go to pharmacy college in Wayne State and be a pharmacist, or business school in Windsor. They had a program, a special BCom program, where I could get my BCom in 2 years based on all the credits I had. So I was managing a bingo hall.
Which one?
Rose City on
Right.
671 Wine. It's the Bertrand family, best family ever. Helped me so much in my life. So I was managing the bingo hall one night.
Right at Cameron.
No, 671 Wyandotte Street. The one on Cameron was Jimmy Bertrand.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was Molly, Bertrand, Danny, and Tommy, God rest his soul. So the accountant come in to talk to Danny. They were going out for a couple of drinks after work. They invited me. I'm in my now 5th year of university. So Paul Kriz, he was a partner at Deloitte back then, said, hey, you know what? We go out drinking. I said, what do you do for a living? He goes, I'm a partner in an accounting firm. I said, well, I want to do what you do. This is fun. Like, this is what you do. You take your clients out drinking. This is fantastic. I want to do this. He goes, well, graduate from Windsor and we'll hire you. So to his credit, 2 years to the day almost, I graduated. Business school was a little easy after science, with all due respect. Fridays off, not that hard, not that much work, I'll be honest. So they hired me. So I started there, and I was a little older than most of the kids because I had already done I was probably 2 years more at university, and I had a knack for communicating, so I was able to connect with clients. So after, passing your first set of exams and getting through the CPA or the CA process back then, it's just been sort of an uphill climb. But see, arguably one of the best degrees you can still get, because if you do it right, you can teach at the university level. You can certainly become a corporate controller or a CEO or CFO of any company you want, or you can do what we do every day, and I get paid to talk to my friends. It's like the best job in the whole world.
Do you find that too, that like most of your clients you developed a friendship with?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, so this isn't a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. This is what I do for a living. Is it 24 hours a day, of course. Am I on call when anything bad? And we're the first call, bad things, good things. Someone dies, heaven forbid. Someone's having an affair and needs a backup story. Hate to say that, but it's happened more than once. Living through, you get very close to people financially, but really it's just friendships, deep friendships.
Do you find with being a cop, one of the shitty parts of being a cop was like the constant bearing of this bad news or people on their worst day? And, I haven't had that many bad years of business, but I feel like every time I go to you, I'm always kind of thought I was here, and then I see I'm here, right? Do you find, does that wear on you?
That's not true.
Well, I mean, it is true. Whether, you thought you made this much and you made this much, or you thought you lost this much and you lost a little bit more, it is kind of for me, maybe that's me with the numbers, but
to me, it's all relative. I want everybody to be rich. The parties are better. You fly first class. The wine's better. So I really do. Not everybody deserves to be rich, with all due respect, right? So we're here to help any way we can and provide the guidance and advice we can. A lot of it is, I don't really like accounting anymore. I never really did. It was the opportunity to get to talk to people, which is really what I like to do, right? So that was the segue into talking to people. Some people say, I like horseradish, so I eat steak, so I get to eat horseradish. Right? I do accounting so I can talk to people.
Right.
There's no other way to say it.
Do you think that Irv, we were talking about basketball before, and I'm a football coach or whatever, and I can, do you think that now with the experience you have, do you think you can kind of predict when somebody comes in to sit down with you that they will be successful in business or not? Or do you only really, I guess at this point,
great question.
Do you only really take on successful businesses, or do you take on a lot of startups like you guys did with me? I don't know if I was just because I was a buddy of a buddy or that kind of thing.
I'm going to leave you personally off the table in this one. Fine. We do not take every client, but I take every meeting, right? So people call. I got a text from a guy this morning that wants to meet. He knows a couple friends of mine. They said good things, so I'll call him tomorrow, bring him in the office. So we take every meeting. That doesn't mean you become a client, right? And we have, younger people, junior partners, junior staff that want to grow. So, it's good that people want to call us and me, but sometimes after I take the meeting, I say, got a great idea. Here's the person like a Catherine we're going to talk to. She's going to groom you. I'm here to help, but you don't need me yet. You might need me in the future. Picking success, no way. I can tell.
It's not he sees a kid who can't dribble but sees potential.
Yeah.
Is that happening?
I can do that with staff. So we can train a good work ethic, great attitude.
Yes.
I can make that person great, right? I can do that. I can't train bad attitude or lazy and won't. Clients, it's hard because in today's world, there's an 80% luck factor, right? Right place, right time. Some of it's second generation, third generation, family wealth. Some of it's just timing, right? So no, I don't have the ability, other than I deal with a lot of dentists across Ontario. Shout out to all my dental clients. But they're predictable, so you can work with them and train them to work hard and make money.
Well, predictable, yeah, they're predictable. Charge a fuck ton of money, and
I never realized. I always look at my benefits. I'm like, what do I pay these stupid benefits for? And then when I started paying my own dentist, I'm like, oh, jeez.
So I got a cleaning this morning at my dental chair. I was sitting. I think I left. I was there for exactly 45 minutes, and it was $220.
Yeah.
But I don't begrudge that. He's
Specialty.
He's got overhead. Someone's got to clean
There's
my
definitely
teeth.
overhead. I'll give that.
Someone's got to
Those
clean my
little
teeth.
sunglasses they give me probably cost
Yeah.
a ton. When
the
do we
screen
when do we
under.
get to that world where we need to wear sunglasses to look at that light for like 20 minutes, dude? We're getting soft. So before we dive in deep onto you a little bit, I want to talk about Murray Insurance, our sponsors. These guys are amazing. Karen, Ian, Murray, they're out learning new things right now to better help their clients. Kara's away on a conference, and I can't wait to talk to her when she gets back to learn more about that. But Murray Insurance, they've been a sponsor of the Tango One podcast forever. They are Kingsville OGGs, and if you want to get a hold of them for anything insurance-wise, whether it be finances, car, home, auto, name it, they've got it. Get a hold of them at teammurrayinsurance.ca, and thank you to HQ. We're usually drinking some BCAs and have focus, but Carl and I have gone to the hard stuff today, so thank you to them. You guys can use code TANGO15. So Carl, when one of the cool things I never thought, I mean, you were the first person to really reach out to me and say like, hey, I'd love you to come in and talk to my group, and it was awesome. I was honored. It was great. It was a stepping stone for me. But one of the things after that kind of like touched me was that you said there were some things that you were really going to work on in the upcoming year. And I was like, man, like looking around, I'm like, fuck, like this guy, like I'm looking at your building, I'm looking at where I'm standing, how many people you employ, and I'm attaching success to a lot of those physical things, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, this guy, and a little bit older than me, super successful, and he's still working on things. Like, is that something that has come with like your maturity as a person, or is that something new, or is that something you've always tried to do, is pick a few things personal to kind of make you grow? I know you read a ton.
Wow, that's a lot. So
a lot of questions in one.
Yeah, so I mean,
Danny says I suck at that. I got to start asking just one question at a time.
That's beyond open ended. That's like a lot. So I mean, your presentation was spectacular. I told you changed lives. I've sat through a billion training sessions, and you changed 60 people's lives in 2 hours. And I mean that, and our staff still talk about it, and we'll talk about it. I believe, because I have a duty to make people great in an organization, that I have to evolve. I can't manage people the way I did 10 years ago. I can't even manage people the way I did 5 years ago, right? I've experienced a little bit of emotional torment in my personal life in the past 2 years, which has forced me to figure out a better way to communicate. So the angry, burning flame inside me has been converted into a calm, happy, focused flame, if you can say that. So between growing great young people, looking at yourself and saying you probably should change, and resonating better with good friends, good clients, and my kids, has worked. So this is probably the best version of me in 20 years. And yes, continuous improvement.
And it should be, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. Put the time in.
When you look back on some of those personal torments, that's with me, and you've heard some of the most intimate things I've had. And for me, it's like, there's always this like, kind of like, am I burning out the person that I really am? Like choking out those, what was my superpower, or am I, going to lean into it a little bit? That's always the struggle. And I always wonder, like, do I regret? And when I was in front of your group, I said there's no regret there, because it puts me in the position to have these conversations and change some people, like you said, which I appreciate hugely. Do you find that with yourself? Do you find that like you're like right where you need to be, and you did what you did, and you went through what you went through, made mistakes and rights and wrongs and all those things?
Yeah, no regret. I mean, again, I think, regrets are important, but no regrets. I think you just, you have to be self-aware, and you have to be self-reflective. And if you're not, then in today's world, you stick out, right? So again, I have a bit of an obligation to the team, bit of an obligation to myself and my family. So, I chose to change my mantra from anger to joy. And it's, it's fantastic.
And what do you think the biggest steps in getting you from anger to joy were?
Mistakes, like really, really getting kicked in the head over and over again. So I was talking to one of my clients, and he's going through some life stuff. So we're contemplating, pivoting left or pivoting right. We're talking. He says, if I go left, I'm going to have to beat myself with a baseball bat in the head for 2 years. And I don't really want to do that. Okay, let's not go left then. How about we go right? Because I really don't want to see you go through that either, right? But yeah, it's hard work, and it's a lot of lone time. It's a lot of and I got a great support group. I got great friends, great people, great clients. So it's been a journey. It's not done. I don't think you're ever done learning and growing and getting better. But I think I'm resonating better with just about everybody.
That's awesome to hear. Like, have you ever read the book Four Agreements?
No.
So in that book, they talk about that whatever your weakness is in the world, like whether you believe in God or Buddha or just something else, whatever it is, doesn't matter, or just karma in general or energy, is that whatever you're presented with, your biggest obstacle, I guess, your biggest weakness will just constantly be thrown at you in different ways until you finally get it fucking right, or you die, I guess. But like, and I really firmly believe that
that sounds logical to me,
right? And this constant turn left or right. Oh, I turn left. Oh, fuck. Hey, idiot. Here's another here's another turn left or right. Left again. Damn
same
it.
Decision tree,
right?
Yeah.
And it just looks a little bit different, but you keep making the same until you figure out you go right, and then it just becomes the next weakness, right or left, the whole way through. So I think that would be a good book for you to read. We talk about books, we talk about articles.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one, I think, for you to look into. Man, so like all of this growth, all these mistakes, all this stuff, at the end of the day, what would be your like greatest advice to like, a young man going from you 10 years ago to getting to that peace and joy that you feel now?
Oh, so this is easy. It's a true story.
Really?
We call it leave the world a little better than you found it. That's what we call it. So my stepfather, probably best mechanic ever in the world, maybe tinkered on cars in our home garage at night. So one of his clients pulls up for an oil change, does the oil change. Guy leaves, guy's driving halfway home, hears a radio, listen to his favorite song, doing one of these, and he's like, wait a minute, when I dropped this truck off, it didn't have a radio in it. In fact, this truck has never had a radio. So he turns around, comes back to our house, knocks on the door, calls my dad outside, he says, what the hell? I asked you to change my oil, you put a radio and speakers in my car. Because, I had an extra one laying around. Everybody needs a radio in their car. Don't worry about it. And away he went. And that was my stepfather. Just leave the world a little better than you found it.
I love that. This is the ultimate. I love it.
I swear to God. So that's been the mantra for a long time. And you talk to people, you meet new friends. What are you about? What do you like? What do you think about it? It's not that hard. Just leave the world a little better than you found it. However that means to you, just do it.
Leave it better than you found it has been it's a mantra of mine. I believe in it. And that story, I'm using it.
That's where it started.
I'm using it. I love this.
And true story.
Put a radio in the car.
But in true story, that guy became a client of mine at Collins Barrow. So he reached out and said, I've known your dad forever. The least I could do is give you my work.
Man, and yes. There couldn't be a better way to kind of end that up. I think that is like that's an awesome story. And leave it better than you found it. Irv, we got another title. We say the funny thing about this podcast is we always get the title out of the discussion.
Oh, that's okay.
That for sure is it. So man, I really appreciate you coming on here, like talking comfort zone. Irv, this guy was like a natural. He's a natural comfort zone. You look like smooth as can be. I hope to have you back on here again, and we should
put Dobrich in this scene. See how quickly we can all get canceled in the world.
That'd be good. That would be good.
We could just argue for like 30 minutes.
Get rid of all the woke right there. We're done.
Yeah, man. I really think what you said earlier, and you were like, I know you messaged me. Well, I don't know if people appreciate the honesty. I really do believe, like, no matter who you are, people just want it to be fair. As long and fair, like the whole world is not fair. Not everything needs to be fair. But when it comes picking the right person, doing the right thing, like that's what the whole world should come down to. And I think nobody, man, woman, minority, sexuality, none of that matters in terms of that, as long as it is doing what is right for the organization, for the betterment of the world, and leaving it better, right? Pass on what you got.
With whatever talent God gave you.
Yes.
Right? Whatever talent God gave you, we all have the ability to leave it better than we found it.
Let's do that. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Carl, for coming along
My
today.
pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And cheers to this.
Stepping out of my comfort zone.
Out of the comfort zone. We're out.
Now's the time to do more and be more.